Most of the videos that you're going to be watching this semester were created as part of a class that I taught in fall of 2015, the same class, and I created the videos because some of my students were online students and some of my students were in face-to-face students, so I was trying to accommodate a variety of students. There are a few times, however, that I am going to be doing videos that are not in front of a classroom, and this is one of them. I wanted to introduce you to what we're going to be doing this semester, in particular case study research. One of the things that this department does very, very well is it has students be involved in service learning and in um, working on specific cases or specific examples, applying the principles that they're learning in classes. You'll find that, if you haven't already, in taking other classes in the department. And one of the articles that you'll be reading in a couple of weeks is actually going to be talking about some commonalities that this particular department has in the classes in terms of the kinds of things that we're hoping students will gain as a result of taking classes. This particular class, Intro to Communication Research, will get you ready for the kind of analysis and thinking that you'll be doing in many of your classes. So we like for this class to be taken near the beginning of the time that you create your decision, or that you have a decision, make a decision to have a speech communication major. We like for this class to be taken alongside of the Human Communication Concepts class, or taken after you've had that class, because you will be required to apply theory that has already been developed in the communication field to some specific case. And in particular, the kind of case that I'm going to be having you look at this semester is something that you're already somewhat familiar with. Last semester when I taught the class, I had them look at nonprofit organizations, but I realized that that was a little limiting as students were trying to figure out where they were going to do their research for the semester, and I gave the students some more flexibility as the semester went on to be able to look at specific experiences that they had had in some kind of organization or system. Last semester, for example, I had a student that did her case study research on her family who owned their own family business. There was a specific time in the family business in which the business was at risk, and so she wanted to tell the story by interviewing the people that were involved in that family business at the time, tell the story of what that was like. I had other students. I had a student that was connected because of her family to the Easter Seals organization, and she ended up deciding to talk about how her own family member was impacted by that Easter Seals organization. I had a student that was interested and had been participating in the International Friendship Organization for several years, and so he told about his own story and the connection about what it was like to be a part of that organization. Basically, what you're going to be doing this semester is learning the tools necessary to do an in-depth look at a specific kind of event or organization and applying communication theory to that event or organization. So you're going to be able to choose, and I'll talk more about this later in the semester, but you're going to choose a specific organization or event that you've experienced that impacted more than just you, and look at it closely. So, for example, another example that I had this semester, a student was very interested in how in a children's theater troupe the children learn to act, and this person was an actress, but she also was involved in this theater troupe as a volunteer, and so she wanted to find out how the children were developed into actors. She found some things that she wasn't sure that she was going to find, and were kind of surprising to her after she did observations and interviews as part of that organization, and she wrote about her experiences. I had another student that actually was the choreographer for a particular acting troupe, and she talked about her leadership and the kinds of things that she experienced as part of that group. I've had other students who come in and say, well, I don't know what kinds of experiences I would want to write about, so I'll just choose some kind of place, maybe a nonprofit organization that I volunteered for, and I'm going to do a little bit more analysis of the kinds of communication that go on in that organization. I had a person, for example, look at the Restore organization, which is part of Habitat for Humanity, and they looked at the customer service that went on as a part of Restore. So I've had many different kinds of places that have been chosen, events that have been chosen. I had a student that looked at and compared two women who became pregnant without being married, and one was became pregnant in the 1930s, 1940s, I guess it was, and another one is pregnant now. And so she did interviews of them to find out the differences of how people reacted to them based on their experiences of teenage pregnancy. She got interested in that particular topic because she had done some volunteer work as part of her advanced public speaking course. So I expect that you will select an organization or an event that you've been a part of related to something maybe that you've already done as part of the major in speech communication. Or you may choose a particular job setting that you're in currently and do an analysis of some particular aspect of that workplace. The main thing is for you to pick out something that you think would be interesting to study and to study it. We're going to give you the tools. I will give you the tools, the readings, the lectures to help you be able to do that kind of studying. But the goal, overall goal, regardless of what organization or event that you choose, is for you to be able to look at it in detail, be able to collect data through interviews and observations, and be able to apply communication theory to explain what has happened in that particular case. So I hope this sets up the information on case studies for you as we get started in going through the semester. You're going to have readings this week even that will give you an introduction to case study research and some examples of how other people have done case study research. And as we go along, there'll be plenty of opportunities for you to ask me questions either via the Blackboard interface or through other kinds of appointments that you would choose to make with me by phone or in person. So enjoy the readings and assignments for this week. Mostly this week is to get you introduced to each other and to get you started used to the kinds of things that I'm going to be asking you to be doing, which is to start watching videos and doing readings for to keep up with the course material, and to take an orientation quiz over the course schedule and begin here materials and all of the kinds of things that you're doing this week. This is kind of a microcosm of the kinds of things that I'm going to be asking you to be doing as we move forward. I will be asking you to work on a project journal as we go on, and there will be several things that you're going to be putting into that journal, each worth just a couple of points apiece, but just to give you a little bit of accountability for getting that information in there. That journal is a place for you to keep all of your information, for you to share also the kinds of things that you're doing in terms of the project as we get going on that project. And again, I'll give you more details as we go in terms of the kinds of thing that you will be doing, but bottom line is I want you to have fun. I want you to learn. I will provide you the kinds of skills that you need to put together this project by the end of the semester that will be a 10 to 15 page paper, which may seem overwhelming to you now, but my students at the end of last semester commented about how well prepared they were to get this project done because of the building blocks and the steps that I had them do during the semester. So you're going to find the same kind of thing, and if you ever get stuck or have problems, please feel free to let me know. Don't just be stuck out there without asking for help. I would rather help you at the beginning of a problem than find out at the end of the semester that you really struggled, or at the end of an assignment that you really struggled and needed my help. All right, upward and onward. For the rest of the time for this semester, you're going to have a lot to do and a lot to learn. Thank you.